places where to get it, so I ate less of it. Here,
Gotcha.
I know where everything
Oh,
is.
you totally do.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Oh, they're not ready?
No, we're ready.
Oh, now we're ready. Okay, gotcha.
Can't
We got,
handle this now, it's kinda-
we just got sidetracked talking about food. Okay, so Mr. Lionel Wiley Jr. One,
Yes.
I want to begin by saying thank you for agreeing to do this interview today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Because we need to be able to see, not just us, but the community on why it's so important for, we can complain all day about our community, but if we're not gonna do anything to help, then why are we here? But that's why you're here, because you have a passion for
Absolutely.
uplifting your community.
Absolutely.
So Mr. Wiley, do you mind telling me more about yourself? Where you're from, and how did we get here today?
It would be my pleasure. So I'm actually a native of the St. Louis metropolitan area. I'm from about 10 miles from St. Louis, downtown proper, in a place called Madison, Illinois. I'm a graduate of Venice High School. I grew up here. I left in 1988 going to the military. I spent 26 years there. Loved serving my country. So as I traveled around the world, what I realized is that other children are not necessarily better than our children or more intelligent. They're just better prepared. So I began this sort of internal journey of, okay, how can I make effective change with this, right? So it came to me during the time actually of COVID. I am extremely blessed. So how do I take my experiences and pour them into not just my child, but children in our direct community? There were so many opportunities when I was growing up that I wasn't aware of. And had I been aware of those, maybe my life would have taken a different path, maybe not, but there's nothing like opportunity. So that's what brought me to the point where Harris-Stowe had an excellent opportunity for me to invest in our children, our community, and absolutely our future. I have this saying, either you spend your investments or you invest in your ability to spend. So me investing in Harris-Stowe is making a direct impact into my own community, and that has to be okay.
Oh my goodness,
One of
you.
these people, tighten the jacket.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So the mic's not moving around?
Oh, no.
That was an excellent answer. Oh my goodness. The interview's done. No, I'm
No.
just playing.
Okay.
No, I'm just playing. When you were mentioning about the renovation at Harris-Stowe State University with their athletic department, with Historic Park, with Stars Park, the former home of Negro League world champions of St. Louis Stars, which is now the home of their baseball and softball team, the field. Why did you truly feel, as you were mentioning about being able to support Harris-Stowe and where they're going now, with knowing that it's a part of baseball history and St. Louis when it comes to history of baseball, why do you feel it's so important, though, to invest specifically with Harris-Stowe State University?
Harris-Stowe is a historically black college. It's a place where we nurture and create viable black professional young men and women. What better place to invest in? So many times we'll say, hey, if only we had this skill set, or if only you had this experience. So Harris-Stowe has a healthy relationship with the community that's growing. They're creating business relationships and opportunities. So when there was an opportunity to invest there, for me, it was a no-brainer. It was a true blessing for me.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer, especially considering the fact that with the renovation cost of Stars Park, St. Louis Cardinals donated $1.1 million out of the cost of $1.35 million. You are one of those investors. Why should people that are watching your interview right now, why should they feel that they too should invest with the renovation of Stars Park with Harris-Stowe State University?
It has to start with our own village. I grew up here, Cardinals fan, born and bred, right? I would not be surprised if there's not members of our community that are not aware of the historical value, let alone the history of the Harris-Stowe Stars Park. So given the opportunity to not just help replenish a historical landmark, but it creates a future. So if children that are at Harris-Stowe today learn about the history of Stars Park and realize that they're making the history of tomorrow. It's a part of them being better prepared to be viable, healthy, productive citizens.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And once this renovation is complete, what do you feel is going to be, how do you feel that those students are going to feel just so awesome? What do you see happening for our community once this project is complete?
So all around the city of St. Louis, there's different types of history, great history. So what this field will do, it will give African American children the chance to see something from history that's profound. 4 world championships, and they were won by people who look like me. So many times our children, they don't have a healthy image of mentorship. So as they don that field, as they go across the campus, it gives them a healthier feeling of I can do this because they did. And not only can I do this, I have a responsibility to. So my investment is about giving them an opportunity to educate themselves and come back and pull someone else through the education system.
How is Mr. Wiley feeling? You mentioned this earlier off the camera. How are you feeling knowing that you are a part of the change that happens here?
To be honest with you, it's a little overwhelming, right? I saw the opportunity to invest in the university, and for me, like I said, it was a no-brainer. But after the fact, talking to some of the faculty there and even some of the students, it's overwhelming because I think back to when I was that age, 18 to 20, 22. If I would have had someone that looked like me say, hey, I want to invest in you. I want to make it. I want you to know that you can make it because I did, right? And here's the path. I'm willing to invest in you. That's such a healthy conversation to have, you know? So that's what really tied the bow in it for me. It wasn't something I needed to contemplate. It was just, hey, when is the opportunity? When does the door open? You know, when does the door open? You know, great. It's a logo or it's some publicity for my company, but you know what? The amount of children that it will affect is so much greater. Because imagine if when you were 18 years old, you had role models. My role models when I was 18 were athletes for the most part, right? They were businessmen, but they were like few and far between. So I want to be a part of the generation of African American men that are innovators. I don't want a level playing field. I want to own the stadium. And that's what we have to teach them from the time they enter into college. So that's what works for me.
That's a great answer. So basically, once the season begins, you will be out there with your peanuts and your popcorn and your soda and stuff, right?
Again, born and bred in St. Louis, I will be at the game. I will be at the game. So,
There
yes.
we go. There we go. You answered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you. You're a really easy person to interview. Did you prepare for this before you came?
You know what? Actually, to be honest with you, I was reminded that I had this interview.
I'm laughing.
So so I was in a mediation.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, I got to get this done because it's super important to me.
Yeah.
It's super important. Baseball, you know, it was the first form of mentorship I had, and I didn't even know it. The men of my community, you know, they would go together and they would pay for our uniforms and pay for the bats and the balls, and you didn't even realize it as a kid, but this was the first form of mentorship. So to invest in that, right, it's a great opportunity because there are so many things that mentorship opens, right, because it's about that relationship. So for me, it's just a great opportunity. I look forward to doing it a little more. So.
Yeah, I look forward to just seeing how this piece comes out. And as you mentioned, like, because I have 2 boys and they play baseball too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, that is like they're, especially being in Little League and stuff. Oh my gosh,
Right.
yes.
So, and that's what it is. It's sometimes people will make an attempt without a relationship to lead with intimidation. And when you intimidate someone, they'll do what you need them to do in your presence. But if you influence them, they'll do what you need to do in your absence. And they'll reciprocate it, right? So that grows a healthy environment. Intimidation doesn't grow a healthy environment, and that's one of the things that mentorship does. So that's, you know, part of my passion is the opportunity to create relationships for conversation, realistic conversations, realistic literature. And so that's why I told you that my business sort of as a covert business of, hey, I started just things that used to be what I would doodle about. It became a passion. And when I tested it through my mother, she loved it. You know, one of the things is in mentorship is to be able to express yourself. As an African American man, sometimes, men period, we don't have the ability to verbally communicate and communicate in writing to people that are significant in our lives. So I wanted to start a literature line that would say, hey mom, it's an African American man saying things to his mother that maybe he didn't know as he was growing up. So Dad is about, hey, I'm an older, wiser man now. Some of the things as a younger man and as a boy that would frustrate me about my relationship with my dad, now, even as a father, I understand it better. So now it makes me have the ability to, as iron sharpens iron, to be a better mentor, because now I understand more of the process, right? And so those are the opportunities that I look forward to, and partnering and investing in Harris Stowe is a great opportunity for it. You know, not just that, not just for the publicity of it, but it's the relationship of it, because that's what's missing. So, again, it's an excellent opportunity, and I'm thankful for it.
I bet you are. You can tell that you are. I'm glad that you are.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about your business. I forgot to ask you about your business.
Well, my business is Blessed Beyond Baylon. So when I was growing up, I'm named after my father. My mother came up with this nickname for me, Baylon. At some point, I realized that I am extremely blessed. I may not be a wealthy man, but I'm extremely blessed. I've traveled, I've experienced things, I've seen things that most people just read about. So I wanted to come up with a way to use mentorship and relationship to give back. And it's working, it's beautiful. You know, like I said, there's a literature line that's basically expressions of African American men to their family. I've been coached about, I would say voluntold, that this is something that I would probably be good at, right? So I'm more comfortable in front of 500 people than I am in front of 5. So over the years, the 26 years I spent in the military, so much mentorship, so much leadership. So I found a way to translate that, to transcribe it into terminology that's great for mentorship. So now whether I'm talking to boys, whether I'm talking to young adults, or to men my age, it's just about a conversation, creating an environment that's safe to have a conversation. So that became something that was healthy for me to do. I also teach professional and personal development, whether it's diversity and inclusion is really big now. I'm an equal opportunity director, so I deal with diversity and inclusion, mentorship, the ADR process, which is basically mediation. All of that translates into the ability to facilitate conversation. There are conversations that we need to have with our families, with each other, that just becomes an excellent opportunity. It's all the years I was putting these tools in my toolbox and I didn't even know. So I decided one day that, okay, I would do this. So there's the inspirational, and then there's the developmental, and then there's the T aspect of it, which is technology. In my spare time as a hobby, when I was probably about a freshman in college, I started to develop intellectual property. So that's one of those things. I'm one of those people that I couldn't tell you how to update or refresh my page with my computer, but I can write the algorithm. So that became a hobby of mine, developing intellectual property. And it's a way for me to finance my own projects, be able to invest in myself, because the more you invest in yourself, the more control you have of projects. So that's what we do. Create relationship opportunities so that we can mentor, help with personal and professional development, and also develop some intellectual property. So in a nutshell, that's what Blessed Beyond Baylon is.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And then the fact that you said you actually launched, it's always been an idea and you always were working on it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You decided to really manifest it into the forefront during COVID.
I did. COVID for me, it became an opportunity to look at how do you survive at a time where you possibly couldn't. And that is not mine. That's actually my friend Dorian. She put that into words for me. But it's so absolutely true if you think about it. COVID has caused us to all isolate, whether by yourself, with your family, and so forth. It's taken a look at the way we negotiate life. We don't go to restaurants anymore. It's curbside service. So a lot of intellectual property is about how do I create a convenience? It's about creating a convenience. I don't look to make a better cell phone. I look to replace the necessity for it. Imagine that. So sort of work on the seek and we shall find principle. So that's what my company does, and everything about me is with relationship. Relationship and the opportunity to mentor and build better relationships. So as you can tell, I'm a little shy.
Stop.
So
Do you have a motto that you follow? Do you have a certain slogan that you keep in your mind?
absolutely.
What is that?
So about, I would say, close to 10 or 15 years ago, right? A great guy, Eric Harris. He was my pastor in Birmingham, Alabama. He gave me this, and it was something that I had lived by, but I never had put into words, is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so from that, what I added was, once people know how much you care, they'll follow you differently, right? When you can affect change with people, not by intimidation, but by influence that comes through relationship, they'll work differently from you. You know, some of that came from my military experience. I can't just know you. I need to know you, your family, what are the things that affect you, and give you the ability to function. If you translate that into relationships that you have, right? If you talk to a person about all the great things in their life, that's what they're used to. But when you have the ability to make a person comfortable enough to talk to you about their iniquities, about their inabilities, you know, about their things that they have anxiety about, that's building a relationship with concrete as a foundation. So I take pride in that, and it's a learning experience. It's not something that, hey, you know, I'm the master of this, because what you'll find in relationship is that you're growing as a relationship occurs. It's just like I talked about my relationship with my dad, right? There are things that, I was like every other young guy. My father just makes me so mad. I just want to get out of here, right? And over the years, and once I became a dad myself, I realized, you know, sometimes he was pushing me literally by any means necessary just to get me to go. And so that was such a humbling experience when I had to come back and say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. You know, and even then, my father said, it's okay, I understand. Because his goal was for me to get to the point where he was as a father. So that's absolutely great. So same way with every relationship. You know, you have a relationship where you're growing, and you have a relationship, part of that relationship is you're giving. And that's why it's a relationship. If you're not in a relationship where you're growing and receiving, you're not in a relationship. That's called a situation. So, yeah, that's absolutely beautiful for me.
Yeah, giving and receiving, definitely, definitely. If you're not receiving and giving, it's not reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around the world twice. What's so special about St. Louis to you?
Wow. So I lived in Korea for 7 years. And while I was there, you know, I've been to Singapore, China, blah, 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 you know, did a few athletic things overseas. What I missed is familiarity. I love that I still can go home. I hadn't been home in probably 22 years, right? I love the fact that when I came home, they still called me by my nickname. And no matter how much status I would achieve, people that have familiarity with you, they know you, right? And it's nothing like great food all around the world. But there's nothing like, I remember London and Sons. You have to be from St. Louis to remember London and Sons, right? And it's a great restaurant, and it's things like that, familiarity. And what it also does is, it makes you take a look at, okay, hey, how different was this when I was a kid? What resources do I have to change it now? Because now I'm in a different position. Now I'm not on the springboard. I should be part of the level, right? So that's what I love about coming home, is that the familiarity, good, bad, or indifferent. Because when you have familiarity, you not only know what it should look like, you know what's different, And more than that, you know, you can start to put together what you can do to make effective change. So for me, that's what it is. I love St. Louis. Yes.
I love it.
Hi, I'm Lionel Wiley Jr., and I chose to invest in Harris Stowe State University Stars Park because change happens here.